Part 1. The illusion of certainty. What if I told you that the most dangerous thing in your life isn't failure, fear, or even death, but the illusion of knowing? What if the beliefs you cling to, the predictions you trust, and the knowledge you're proud of are not only fragile but deeply flawed? Imagine living your whole life building a castle only to find it was made of sand, and the tide was always on its way. This is not a thought experiment. This is your reality. And today we're going to dismantle it brick by brick with one of the most mind-shattering ideas in modern philosophy and psychology, the Black Swan Theory. You're about to embark on a journey that will challenge every assumption you've ever made. You'll come face to face with the truth that no one wants to admit, that reality is stranger than fiction, the future is unknowable, and the world is a game of cosmic uncertainty. But paradoxically, it's in this chaos that we can find a new kind of wisdom, a wisdom that accepts unpredictability as a fundamental law of existence. As the philosopher Heraclitus once said, "No man ever steps in the same river twice, for it is not the same river, and he is not the same man." You are not the same person you were yesterday, and the world will not be the same tomorrow. So why do we live like it will be? The Black Swan Theory, coined by Nassim Nicholas Taleb, is not about birds or biology. It's about the fragility of our understanding. It's about the rare, unpredictable events that come out of nowhere, redefine everything, and only seem obvious after they've already happened. Think of 9/11. Think of the 2008 financial collapse. Think of COVID-19. No one saw them coming until they did. And then suddenly, everyone pretended they knew all along. This is the first psychological trap the Black Swan exposes, the illusion of hindsight. We're wired to create stories that explain the past, not because they're true, but because they make us feel safe. We hate randomness. Our minds crave order. That's why we invent narratives, patterns, and forecasts. But the universe doesn't care about our stories. It's wild, complex, and indifferent. And the more we pretend to understand it, the more we set ourselves up for collapse. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher, once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." But what if the very thing that happens to us is so unexpected that we don't even know how to react? Let's go deeper. Think about your own life. How many of the most important events, meeting someone you love, losing a job, discovering a passion, were planned? How many were predicted, scheduled, or guaranteed? Probably none. That's the power of the Black Swan. It doesn't just apply to global disasters or financial markets. It applies to you, to your heart, to your mind, to your story. And the terrifying beauty of it all is this: the most transformative moments in your life will often be the ones you never saw coming. So why does this matter? Because we live in a world that worships prediction. Economists predict markets. Scientists predict outcomes. Influencers predict trends. And yet, time and time again, we are wrong. Not just a little wrong, spectacularly wrong. We build systems on sand and act surprised when they crumble. Taleb warns us of the turkey problem. A turkey is fed every day for 1,000 days and believes, with growing confidence, that life is good. On day 1,001, it's Thanksgiving. The turkey's confidence was highest right before the end.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
Now ask yourself, in what areas of your life are you acting like the turkey? Where are you blindly trusting routines, systems, or people, assuming they'll always be there? And what would happen if without warning they weren't? There's a deeper psychological insight here. The Black Swan Theory reveals a cognitive bias we all suffer from: narrative fallacy. We believe life is a logical sequence of cause and effect. But the truth is, We impose meaning on chaos. We take random events and weave them into stories. These stories become our truths. And then we defend them, build identities around them, and call them knowledge. But as Socrates warned, the only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing. This is not about nihilism. This is about humility. The humility to admit that your map of the world is not the territory, that your beliefs are not facts, that your predictions are guesses, no matter how confident they feel, and that every day you are walking on a tightrope over a chasm of uncertainty, pretending it's solid ground. But what if uncertainty wasn't the enemy? What if it was the gateway to your deepest growth? Let me tell you a story. Picture a man who spends 20 years building a business. Every decision is calculated, every risk managed. He becomes rich, respected, seemingly invincible. Then, a single regulation changes. His industry collapses. He loses everything. Was he foolish? No, just blind to the black swan. Now picture another man. He takes risks, but keeps his life simple. He invests in small, unscalable passions. One day by accident, his obscure blog goes viral. A black swan. His life changes overnight. One man was destroyed by the unexpected. The other was elevated by it. The difference? One ignored the unknown. The other danced with it. So ask yourself, are you building a life that can survive the unpredictable or one that depends on everything going right? Because the truth is, everything you know, your job, your beliefs, your relationships may one day be shattered by a black swan. Not because you were wrong, but because you were too certain you were right. Let's bring in Nietzsche. He said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." But what if the how is absurd? What if the world doesn't follow the rules we think it does? That's where true resilience comes from, not from controlling the chaos, but from preparing the self to flourish within it. This is the paradox. The more we try to predict life, the more fragile we become. The more we embrace the unknown, the more anti-fragile we become. Taleb introduces this concept, antifragility. It's not just about surviving disorder, it's about benefiting from it. Like a muscle that grows stronger under stress. Like a mind that sharpens in adversity. Like a soul that awakens in crisis. So here's a challenge. Stop asking, how can I avoid black swans? And start asking, how can I design a life that thrives when they arrive? That means diversifying your identity, not tying your worth to a single job, belief, or outcome. It means cultivating curiosity over certainty, adaptability over rigidity, and wisdom over knowledge. You must become a philosopher of the unknown. A thinker who is not trapped by models, but liberated by mystery. A seeker who does not fear being wrong, because being wrong is the path to being more right. In the words of Alan Watts, the menu is not the meal. Your beliefs are not reality. They are just the current version of your best guess. So let me leave you with this question. If everything you know could one day turn out to be wrong, what would you start valuing instead? In the next part, we'll dive even deeper. We'll explore how black swans reveal the fragility of modern life and how ancient wisdom can guide us to not just survive but transcend the chaos. We'll meet minds who lived through collapse and emerged wiser. And we'll uncover the spiritual dimension of unpredictability, the sacred chaos that lies at the heart of existence. But for now, remember this. The world is not a puzzle to be solved. It is a mystery to be lived. And the moment you embrace that, you stop fearing black swans and start becoming one. Part 2, Dancing with Chaos. How to live in a world you can't control. So here we are looking directly into the abyss of uncertainty. You've already seen how fragile our understanding of the world really is. You felt the discomfort of realizing that the ground you stand on might be made of illusions. But now comes the deeper question: what do we do with this knowledge? How do we live in a world where anything could change in an instant, where black swans lurk in the shadows, and where everything you know might turn out to be wrong? The answer is not to retreat from chaos, but to dance with it. Let's begin with a brutal truth. Most of our education, our institutions, even our relationships are built on the illusion of control. We are taught to plan, to forecast, to set goals and timelines. But as the Stoic philosopher Seneca warned, fate leads the willing and drags along the reluctant. When we pretend to control what is ultimately uncontrollable, we make ourselves hostages to illusion. The black swan doesn't care how smart you are. It doesn't care how well you planned. It simply arrives. So how do we live wisely in a world driven by what we don't and can't know? The first step is psychological. We must decentralize our ego from certainty. That means detaching our identity from being right or being in control. It means becoming what Zen Buddhism calls the beginner's mind, a mind that is open, empty, curious. The beginner's mind doesn't need to predict the future, it meets the future with humility and presence. Think of the ocean. The sailor who tries to dominate the sea will be destroyed. But the sailor who learns to read the winds, adjust the sails, and move with the current, this sailor becomes powerful not because they control the sea, but because they synchronize with it. That's what we must become. Psychological sailors, learning to navigate the unpredictable waves of life instead of demanding calm waters. Here's where we bring in the concept of antifragility again. Taleb's genius insight wasn't just that black swans existed, was that we can build systems, minds, and lives that benefit from volatility. Unlike fragile things that break, or robust things that merely resist, anti-fragile things get stronger under stress. A fragile ego collapses when it's wrong. An anti-fragile ego grows from being wrong. So ask yourself, when was the last time being wrong made you wiser? Or did it make you bitter? Let's now turn inward. Many of us live with a deep-seated need for certainty in our personal lives. We want guarantees in love, in career, in our future. But love is not certain. Success is not linear. And the future is not a script. We write it as we go. The people who thrive aren't the ones who avoid uncertainty, they're the ones who have learned to make peace with it. As the philosopher Kierkegaard said, life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. So how do we prepare ourselves, not just intellectually, but spiritually, for a world where the next moment could change everything? We must cultivate emotional flexibility. This is not weakness. It is a deep resilience of the soul. When you practice detachment, not indifference, but clarity, you are no longer destroyed by change. You are transformed by it. The Buddhists call this anicca, impermanence. And understanding it is not about sadness, it's about freedom. Let's explore a powerful metaphor. Imagine your beliefs as furniture in a room. Most people nail their furniture to the floor. But when a black swan floods the room, they drown with it. The wise person, they keep their beliefs movable. They rearrange the room when water comes. They float, and in doing so, they survive. Here's a practical question for you. What belief in your life have you nailed to the floor that might need to be released? Maybe it's a belief about what success means. Maybe it's a rigid idea of who you need to be. Or maybe it's a vision of the future that no longer fits the world you're living in. Whatever it is, real growth begins the moment you loosen your grip. Let's take a moment to consider some ancient wisdom. The Tao Te Ching teaches, those who flow as life flows know they need no other force. This isn't about passivity. It's about adaptive intelligence. The reed bends in the storm but does not break. The tree that refuses to bend is the one that shatters. In a black swan world, your flexibility is your survival, and your surrender is your strength. But let's not pretend this is easy. There's a deep psychological cost to living in ambiguity. Our brains are wired for certainty because certainty feels like safety. This is why conspiracy theories thrive in times of crisis. They offer black and white answers in a gray world. But beware, false certainty is more dangerous than honest doubt. It makes us arrogant. It blinds us. It makes us brittle. One of the most powerful ways to embrace uncertainty is through philosophical skepticism. Socrates made his entire philosophy out of admitting what he didn't know. He questioned everything. He refused to worship dogma. And in doing so, he became one of the wisest men in history. Why? Because wisdom doesn't come from having answers. It comes from asking better questions. So here's one for you. What do you believe so strongly that you've stopped questioning it altogether? Could it be your idea of who you are, or how the world works, or what you deserve? What if the black swan isn't an external event, but an internal awakening when you suddenly realize that your entire worldview was built on flawed assumptions? This is not just an intellectual exercise. It's a spiritual rebirth. Because once you accept that everything you know might be wrong, a strange thing happens. You become more alive. You become more attentive. You stop coasting through life on autopilot. You begin to see. And in that seeing, you find wonder. Uncertainty is the birthplace of creativity, of love, of meaning. If everything were predictable, nothing would be beautiful. Every great work of art, every profound relationship, every spiritual awakening begins with a step into the unknown. The black swan is not your enemy, it is your invitation to evolve. Let's bring this home with a final image. Imagine two people standing on a cliff. One is terrified of falling. The other is aware of the risk but mesmerized by the view. Both are in the same place, but only one is alive to the mystery of it. You have a choice, to fear the fall or to marvel at the view. In the next part, we'll go even further. We'll explore how to build a life, a mind, and a purpose that doesn't just survive the black swan but becomes one. We'll talk about how to create systems in your life that are anti-fragile, how to use randomness, chaos, and failure as fuel, and how to rewire your psychology so that you no longer fear being wrong but learn to crave it. But before we go there, ask yourself this. If you stop needing life to be predictable, how much more of it could you finally experience? Part 3. Becoming the Black Swan: How to Thrive in a World of Uncertainty. We've torn apart the illusion of certainty. We've stood face to face with chaos and started to understand that unpredictability isn't a glitch in the system. It is the system. Now we enter the final stage of this philosophical and psychological journey, not just observing the black swan, not just preparing for it, but becoming it. Because the most powerful response to a world that constantly surprises you is to become a source of surprise yourself. Let's begin with this truth. You are not meant to be a passive observer of randomness. You are meant to engage with it, to create within it, to shape your relationship with the unknown into something empowering. Most people try to avoid surprises. But what if you became the kind of person who thrives in surprise, who doesn't just survive black swans but becomes an unpredictable, transformative force that defies the expectations placed upon you? This is what it means to live anti-fragile. Not just resilient, not merely strong, but fundamentally designed to benefit from disorder. Think of evolution itself. It's not a smooth, linear process. It's jagged, full of disruption, mutation, and adaptation. Without randomness, there is no life. Without uncertainty, there is no growth. And so if you want to truly evolve, not just survive, you must learn to embrace the philosophy of the unexpected. Let's break this into practical terms. The first principle of becoming anti-fragile is optionality. In a world of black swans, the more options you have, the more likely you are to benefit from randomness. Don't overcommit to a single path. Don't build your identity around one job, one belief, one way of being. Instead, create space in your life for serendipity, for things to go right in unexpected ways. As Taleb says, if you want to become anti-fragile, put yourself in a position to benefit from positive black swans while being protected from negative ones. How do you do that? Start by designing your life with asymmetry. That means small downside, big upside. Learn broadly. Take small bets. Experiment without risking everything. A fragile person invests everything in one outcome. An anti-fragile person sets up 10 experiments, knowing that 9 might fail, but the 10th could change everything. They don't avoid failure, they expect it, even welcome it, because each failure is a filter, and each success is exponential. Let's apply this to your mind. How can your thinking become anti-fragile? The answer is intellectual humility. The more rigid your worldview, the more vulnerable you are to being shattered by reality. But when you hold ideas loosely, when you treat your beliefs like hypotheses instead of identities, you become adaptable. You evolve. As philosopher Bertrand Russell once said, the trouble with the world is that the stupid are cocksure and the intelligent are full of doubt. Doubt here is not weakness, it's wisdom. This is where we enter the realm of psychological transformation. To truly thrive in uncertainty, you must retrain your nervous system to stop reacting to unpredictability as danger. Most people live in a constant low-level state of anxiety because they're trying to control something that cannot be controlled, the future. But the present moment, that's yours. You can breathe in this moment. You can act in this moment. And when you anchor yourself here, the future loses its fangs. Here's a spiritual truth. The unknown is where the divine lives. Every sacred scripture, every ancient mystic, every enlightened philosopher has touched this in some way. Rumi wrote, "Try not to resist the changes that come your way. Instead, let life live through you." When you stop resisting the unknown, you start flowing with existence. You stop being a pawn of fate and start becoming a co-creator of your destiny. Let's go even deeper. What does it mean to become a black swan in your own life? It means shattering the expectations others have of you. It means doing something no one, including you, thought was possible. It means becoming unpredictable in the most meaningful, beautiful way. You are not here to be a statistic. You are not here to follow the script. You are here to break it. But to do that, you must become comfortable with being misunderstood. Black swans, by their nature, don't fit the model. They challenge the norms. They rewrite the rules. So if you want to become one, you must let go of your need for approval. Let go of your need to fit in. Let go of the lie that says safety is found in sameness. As Nietzsche said, you must become who you are. And who you are is something the world has never seen before. Let's talk about failure. Failure is often seen as the enemy, but in the black swan world, failure is feedback. It's a signal. It's how the system learns. You don't grow by avoiding failure. You grow by building a relationship with it. You fail small so you can succeed big. You stumble often so you can leap far. The moment you stop fearing failure, you become unstoppable. Now imagine this. Your life is a laboratory. You are the scientist. The world is the experiment. Every day you try things. You observe. You adjust. You don't need perfection. You need momentum. You need curiosity. And above all, you need the courage to be wrong. Because being wrong is the doorway to being wiser. The final transformation happens when you realize this. You are already a black swan. You are the unpredictable factor in your own life. No one can fully predict what you'll become, not even you. You are a living testament to the power of the unknown. Your thoughts, your ideas, your dreams, they have never existed before in this exact combination. And that makes you a statistical impossibility, a miracle, a black swan. So how do you live from this place? You live boldly. You take risks that matter. You speak truths that others are afraid to say. You build things that might fail but could change everything. You love with intensity. You forgive with grace. You create not because it's safe, but because it's real. And in doing so, you become the very thing the world fears and needs. Let's end with one final question, perhaps the deepest of them all. What kind of human being would you become if you no longer needed to be certain about anything but chose to be awake to everything? That is the black swan path. It is not easy, it is not safe, but it is true. And it is yours.